Hey everyone, hope your day's going well. It's been pretty cool here lately. Um, so I know I've already done a couple videos touching on Asperger's and humor, and split them up into two parts, part 2A and part 2B. And I had felt that there were a couple of areas that I had um, did not touch on in the last video. That is where I was talking about bullying, as far as people using humor as they're bullying someone else. And I felt that these factors were important to touch on as well. So before I get into that, I just wanted to mention, I know these videos can be a little lengthy, and it's just that I'm just trying to cover as much ground as I can and explain as much as I can without trying not to leave anything out. But it is hard at times for me to just kind of rush through it, and I don't really want to rush through it and leave anything out. I do my best to simplify and summarize as much as I can while discussing what I have to say. So in the future, as I do more of these videos, I'll do my best to simplify as much as I can and try to summarize here and there. I just can't always promise or guarantee that. But just, if you can, do your best to bear with me and try to cut me some slack and hang in there with me. I do appreciate everyone who's taking the time again to view these vlogs, and I just hope that you'll continue to support me as I do this. I know it's not something that I ordinarily do a lot of, and I'm still working up the confidence as far as doing these vlogs here, but I just feel that it's important for me to do this, to put this out there. And it's not just, touching on these subjects as far as, areas that I struggle with or areas that I've overcome and worked on. But it's also an opportunity for people to get to know me, get to know who I am and what I have, and especially know what's going on inside of me rather than just what's on the surface and what's on the outside. But again, I thank you and appreciate you all. And of course, most importantly, all thanksgiving and glory to my Heavenly Father, who helps me to be able to do this. And again, it's in Him and through Him that I can do all things. What I do want to touch on, as far as what I didn't emphasize last time, was that I know I had mentioned that people often bully others just to make themselves look good, to make themselves feel that they're on top, that they're superior, and that others who they feel are beneath them, who are inferior and incapable and just, again, retarded or stupid in comparison to them. And some who feel that they, cannot fight back, that they cannot defend themselves, they often feel easily intimidated. And that was one factor that I left out the last time, that feeling of intimidation. And, that's not really a good feeling. And, I can understand, for many out there who struggle with this, I can understand how it feels to be easily intimidated, even, feeling powerless, defenseless, and, not necessarily wanting to, put power over others just to feel better about yourself, but feeling like, you can't, assert yourself, that you can't, stand up to someone. Again, that's what makes you feel powerless. And I know that feeling all too well. And I was talking to my mom about this just recently, mentioning that I felt like I really hadn't had anyone really invest their time in my life who really, taught me how to be more assertive, more confident as far as, standing up to someone in my life. And, not that, I would want to pick a fight with someone just to make myself feel better or make myself be at peace. But sometimes, the best thing to do is not, always engage or stoop down to someone else's level of aggression. Sometimes the best thing to do is walk away or just, distance yourself from any confronting situations. But, there are some situations, some moments when, standing up for yourself, is important. And I know it's taken me a while to work up to that moment in my life where I don't feel as intimidated as I used to. I mean, I think everyone struggles with intimidation in some form or another, but it just seems as though there are some who kind of see someone as that target, and they can tell somehow that that person, is very introverted or timid in some way, and that, their defenses are easily down, so they make it a point to, really, really single that person out as far as, making them the object of their aggression, of their bullying. And not really considering how it's affecting that person. So again, it is a real problem. It is a serious problem, that we need to continue to address out there. And in addition to that, I had mentioned in other posts before about the term gaslighting. There are people who, as they're bullying others, they throw in a touch of the gaslighting attitude, making others feel like, that they're out of their mind, or, they don't know what they're talking about, or that they're just making it all up in their head, and just trying to make them feel like they're the ones who are crazy and disillusioned, disoriented, while making themselves look good and making themselves out, that is, those who are doing the bullying, the gaslighting, that they're making themselves to be the ones who have themselves all together and in their right minds, and just kind of having this, not everyone, but some who kind of just have that pompous, egotistical presence about them, just intentionally making themselves look good while putting that other person down. And so gaslighting there, in that sense, can be a form of emotional bullying there. And I had also, this was suggested to me to bring this up. I've also wanted to mention quickly here this term. I used it a little bit briefly on my last video on part B. But there's this term that I've mentioned before, referred to as shadowboxing. And so I had to look up the actual definition of shadowboxing. There is a verb definition here, verb, having to do with action, meaning to box with an imaginary opponent, especially as a form of training. Kind of like a boxer who's practicing boxing, someone who's not there, or looking in the mirror and just doing their boxing moves, getting themselves psyched up and ready for, to go out and box their opponent. The other one, which isn't really important here, the noun definition, meaning a shallow enclosing case with a glass front, for like displaying objects. But it is the verb definition that I'm mainly touching on here, of course. So in a psychological way, I tend to shadow box with scenarios, if you will, making up these scenarios in my mind, especially where humor is concerned, as far as getting ready for a family event or going to someone's house, as far as having it established in my mind, creating this scenario in my mind in which someone or others specifically who would single me out as far as giving me a hard time about something for fun, or teasing me for fun, or just dragging me into humorous comments and gestures, kind of making me feel, again, like I'm that center of attention, so to speak, and again, leaving me with that uncomfortable feeling. And while there are times where, it would happen exactly, in that way, or in other ways, it would inevitably happen. But then other times, even while I'm thinking before, this event happens, it's like, there are times where I do tend to make too much out of it, kind of adding more to it, and it just ends up causing more sensory overload in my mind. And so there's that habit of shadow boxing and dwelling on those what I consider to be inevitable and the possibility of it happening. I've also heard to it being referred to as kind of, self-prophesying in a way. So, kind of prophesying on that, if you will. But usually it's often coming up as referring to as shadowboxing. So, there's also a biblical reference to shadowboxing, which Paul is touching on that in First Corinthians, I think, chapter 9, I think, where he's talking about referring to enduring himself, continuing to run the race and not shadow boxing. So it's a good biblical sense there. And I think, many people, whether they're on the autistic spectrum or, probably even neurotypical people, I would assume, tend to dwell and shadow box on things, but not really, as opposed to someone like me, not really, dwelling so much, but, just letting it go and just letting whatever happen. Whereas with me, dwelling on it too much, it's like sometimes I even want to distance myself or, not really participate in that function, if you will, kind of withdrawing from it, shutting myself off from some functions as possible, even though I may be missing out on some occasions, but kind of in a way rescuing myself, if you will, and not really wanting to take that risk to save myself from any more heightened anxieties and overloads, if you will. So, that's just what that's pretty much what I had wanted to touch on and clarify on. So, that's going to do it for now. Thank you for, again, for your support out there and for viewing these videos. And blessings to you all. Thank you. Take care.